how Rob is doing 3 to 5 deals every single month in wholesaling real estate and how you can do the same exact thing. What is up, guys? Zach in here. Welcome to the Baxter Riches podcast. And I got Rob here, and Rob is doing 3 to 5 deals a month. Now, you might be like, wait, are you sure he's doing it? I made sure he sent me over the HUDs. We verified it. He is legit. He's really doing 5+ deals a month. And what we want to do is really break down how he's doing it, and most importantly, how you can do the same exact thing. So, Rob, thank you so much for coming on today.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me, brother. Been watching you for a long time, so definitely excited to kind of hop on here with you, man. It's a big moment for myself, so
Awesome.
definitely
Well,
excited.
you earned it, man. You have the HUDs. You actually did the deals. You did all this. So let's talk about it from the beginning, and let's get all the way to where you're at now. So starting out, who are you? How did you get started? And really, how did you get into wholesaling real estate?
So I'm Bhinder, from Northern Virginia area, the DMV. Went to school, was studying supply chain, did like the 9 to 5 thing for a couple of years, absolutely hated it. While I was there, I was just always listening to podcasts and stuff. Kind of always knew I wanted to be, an entrepreneur. I never really wanted to go into doing what I was doing for that line of work. I was a project manager at the time. So was kind of just going with the flow, like what everybody else was doing. And then as I kind of started learning more about real estate, kind of saved some money up, took my chance and did like my first flip. That was about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, lost a shit ton of money on that flip. So I was like, this is terrible. But it was a learning experience though. It was definitely a learning experience. And then kind of went back to the drawing board, started learning more and more about it. Then went ahead and did my second flip, then obviously made some money. And then, did one more flip, made some money. But I was like, this is just it's too much time and risk. And I was like, how can I kind of like not take on this much risk and better use my time? You know what I mean? Where I could still get some type of percentage return and not have to be worrying about, dealing with contractors and everything like that. So that's kind of where I started learning more about wholesaling. Came across your guys' page and just really started getting into the whole, shifting from just finding a deal and fixing it up. Because at the time I was only using MLS, to find all my potential flips. So then when I started realizing, I'm like, wait, I could start going to these people directly. So I kind of scrapped the whole flipping model, and just started really diving into trying to do wholesaling. At the time I had a couple partners. So, we kind of weren't even in the DC, Maryland, Virginia. We were doing a lot of virtual wholesaling. So we kind of went right into virtual wholesaling. We're just using text message blasts and everything. And it went good. We were definitely having success. But then, obviously people had certain things come up, everything kind of like fizzled out. So then I was kind of back to square one. And that's when I kind of was like, all right, like I did the SMS. When I first started, I was predominantly doing SMS. We'd close like 1 to maybe 3 deals a month, but after all expenses and stuff, wasn't really enough to kind of clap about or really be really live off of, period. So when I went back into it myself, was probably 6 to 7 months ago. Did way more research, literally watched your guys' course from like top to bottom before, because I was like, if I do this, like when I jump back into it, like I want to make sure my stuff is correct, and like everything's in line. So that's kind of when I just was like, all right, I'm in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. Let me see how many deals I could do here before I go back out to all these different states that we were marketing in. I think at the time we were like in 10 different states. It was just a lot to keep track of. So then I kind of switched it back. Now all I do is cold calling, have no text messaging at all. I have a team about 2 to 3 VAs that I manage, that do a lot of all my calling. They vet the leads, I train them and everything like that. And it's been good, man. Like they push only leads that have been vetted, that they know, okay, they're interested in selling or have a situation. I kind of have like a criteria that I give them. It's like 4 pillars that each one has like a scoring system, and if they don't meet 3 out of the 4, then they kind of just push it to a separate sheet, which I will eventually hit like once or twice a month myself. But it's been good, man. Started literally as soon as I started. I think I did my first 2 deals before the year began, and those were like 15 and 18K. So I was like, all right, this shit could work, So then I was like, then I kind of just reinvested a lot of it back into marketing. I mean, right now my marketing budget is it's not that much, I'm not spending like tens of thousands of dollars, probably like $2 to $3 grand, if that, a month. So I kind of want to just keep close probably after this month when I close these 3 or 4 deals out, I'll probably bring on another VA and probably bring on my little brother as an acquisitions manager because I've been like training him. He's in college right now. So I'll probably bring him on, kind of just help me do that. Right now, I kind of hired him as my lead manager. So whenever like, if a lead isn't ready to kind of, make a deal or anything, I kind of put it into my follow-up criteria and he'll kind of go through and manage all those and, contact those weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. So it's been good for sure.
Oh, dude, it's amazing, man. When I heard your
Yeah.
story, I was like, okay, let's see the HUD, let's verify this, because DMV ain't the prettiest area. It ain't the best
Yeah.
area to
It's
wholesale
not
houses,
easy.
right?
It's not easy.
And so let's break down the first part, right? So DMV, you're doing well. What areas of the DMV are doing well? And don't give
So
me your
I
secret
actually,
zips, but like,
yeah.
what,
So
what
actually,
area?
I went to school in Virginia Commonwealth University, so VCU, which is in Richmond. So when I was there, I saw obviously, Richmond is hot right now for
Oh yeah, man.
everybody. Like everybody's trying to do it. That's where I did all my flips at. So I was like, all right, I have experience here. Let me go back there and really, see what I could do. And started doing deals there consistently every month. And then from there, kind of picked up the Hampton Roads area. And then it's crazy, from all those transactions that I was doing there, I started getting referral leads in Northern Virginia. So last 2 months ago, I closed one in Fairfax, which is like
Cool.
crazy. This house was like a fire, Fairfax, Virginia, bro.
Yeah.
It's like a fire damaged property. And I signed that one for like 32K or something like that. And it was
It's
like,
expensive.
yeah, it's expensive. And I was like, there's no way I would, but as soon as I even got it on under contract, like I rarely ever really like post like my real estate or my business stuff. I'm kind of trying to start putting out a little bit more content, just so I can make myself more visible. So I think that was the first deal that I posted in like a year on my story. And within like 30 minutes, I think I had it assigned to one of like somebody that was like in my network. And I
Awesome,
was like,
man.
this is crazy. So right now I'm predominantly in, the Richmond area, surrounding areas and zip codes around there. And then all of Hampton Roads, I'm pretty well. I got really strong buyers there too. So like, it's like if I get a deal in Richmond, bro, like I got one on Saturday. I didn't even like post it or nothing. Like I didn't even have pictures of it. I just had one picture where my boots on the ground drove by, and within like 2 hours, I had it assigned. So it's crazy too, because like I don't really have this big buyers list, bro. Like I think if I was to pull out all the transactions, I'm doing multiple transactions with the same like 10 to 12 people, and it's kind of cool that way too, because I know exactly what they want. So I don't really have to stress about like, okay, if I get this deal, let me go ahead and see if I can find a buyer or whatever have you. You know what I mean? So it's been, that whole area is super hot. I started like testing different areas in like Louisiana and stuff. I had like a theory. I was like, hurricanes, maybe I could catch some cheap properties, which I could. It's just like I just didn't have the best buyers there. And obviously I'm not local. I don't know anything about Louisiana, So like I'm getting the deal on paper. I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. And I'm putting it out. And people are like, oh yeah, that's way too expensive. Like, or this house has like 40K owed on it and liens from the county and stuff. So yeah, right now, Richmond, Hampton Roads, and then PG County area, I'm doing a lot
Nice.
of that volume too. Starting to market more in Northern Virginia just because like I have like 2 deals in my pipeline right now.
Mhm.
And I saw a show, I forgot who it was, but somebody that you interviewed or had on here, they were talking about Miami, and they're like, you were like, wow, that's kind of backwards, like,
Yeah,
why are you
David.
yeah. And that's when I was like, all right, like, he was like, yeah, if I could catch one deal and do the same amount that it would take me like 3 to 5 deals to do in a different market.
Mm.
And so I think after this month, I'll probably start putting a little bit more effort into doing it up here. A lot of my deals that have happened up here have been all just referrals, bro.
Yeah.
Like from property managers or like people in Richmond that come up here to like do construction and stuff. They'll call me and be like, "Hey, this house is effed up. Like, see if you can make an offer on it." So, it's pretty good too. I mean, everything I've gotten under contract, I've closed. So I'm like super big about like not wasting, sellers' time. Like I know a lot of people, especially nowadays, I feel like they jump into this game and it's great to take action, but I think you really kind of have to know, like have the whole thing laid out, you know what I'm saying, in terms of
Yeah.
like have your numbers together, so you're not just like wasting people's time and giving like wholesalers a bad rap, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
so.
how mad were you when I announced 3 years ago my top market ever for wholesaling was Richmond,
Yeah, I
Virginia?
was mad,
I
bro. I
mean,
was so mad. I was
everyone was so
watching it
mad
and
at me.
I was like, damn, because it was, bro. It's crazy. Like now, it's like it's just so hard to find deals there, But
Yeah.
which is good because like a lot of the buyers that we're thriving off getting deals, they're moving into different markets too. So if you have good relationships with strong buyers, they'll tell you like, hey, I'm going here, I'm buying houses here. Like if you get me a house in this area, I'll buy it, you know? So that kind of, you can kind of redirect, you know, what your customers kind of want, you know? So, but yeah, when you started announcing it, I feel like as soon as you did that, everybody started just riding the Richmond wave, bro. Like
I had about top 20 wholesalers in the area were so mad at me, but
yeah, bro.
it's so like when I look at your success, it's not like, you know, of course your systems are great, but it's like you're working in the 2 top 5 markets in the United States.
Yeah.
Hampton Roads and Richmond, right? And you spilled the beans where you at, so I could say it, but like I
Yeah.
tell everyone, like those are amazing markets, and you had to like, you know, just kind of figure it out by going to VCU. And
Yeah,
all
that's
these
why
things.
I'm not mad about spilling the beans, because like any guru or anybody that you'll go to that even talks about it, that's like been top 5 for the past 3 years. So I'm like,
Yeah,
you know, it's not, it can't, like
it still
me talking
works.
about it is not spilling the beans. Yeah, it still works, bro. I think the biggest thing is, man, you just got to be consistent, and
Yeah.
like it's just being consistent. Like once you get one deal, any advice I could give anybody, like if whatever you did to get that one deal, go back and refine it, and don't try to create the wheel. You know what I'm saying? Like if you had a specific criteria that worked for, you know, let's say your prop stream list, okay, like maybe when you go pull data again, obviously it won't make sense to pull that same amount of data, but maybe you tweak something here, but keep the same type of bubble of what type of properties you're, you know, trying to go. And then I like cycling my data a lot too, like just jumping back and forth, but I don't kind of want to delve into that whole system, but that's kind of what I like doing.
So yeah, I mean, I talk about I recycle my data all the
Yeah,
time. Not
yeah,
recycle it, but like I'll hit a code violation list, or let's do this up vacant property list.
right.
I'm not going to hit the Richmond vacant property list every single month. I'll hit it,
Yeah,
give it a couple months, then go back to it.
then
But
go back. Yeah.
let's go to freeholding.com. We talk about that, but let's talk about kind of your business, what you can talk about, what you can't, obviously,
Okay.
because what you do in Richmond's pretty good for what you do. But kind of let's talk about systems when it comes to cold calling, VAs, all these things. Obviously, if you just did direct mail, I think you do well. If you just did SMS, you do well. You chose cold, like it's whatever you want to do. So I think a lot of people, you don't have to copy exactly your system to become successful. You do it for really
Right.
anything. But
Right.
I think cold calling is still the best one. So let's talk about your system here. You got
Yeah.
VAs cold calling. What lists are working? Tell
Mhm.
me the whole like system for you right
Okay.
now for it.
So in any market, even like a couple markets that I didn't mention, like in Maryland and stuff, all I'm doing is cold calling. So I have a team of one VA right now, and then I have one like data manager that I work with that kind of, you know, fills the void between me and the VA. So every month I'm probably, let's say just in general in terms of leads or contacts, I'm probably, you know, giving about 5 to 7k of new data every month, and then obviously, you know, I'm recycling back through my old previous data that I've already shared. So you know, I have that skip tracing cost. Found this website. I don't know, like am I allowed to like shout websites out on here, or
Yeah, sure.
yeah, like this called like Skip Force. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's like pretty
Hmm.
cheap skip tracing. It's like a monthly membership, but so far I've had success with them. I used them in the past for my SMS like skip tracing, and I kind of went back for that. So probably around 5 to 7k every month of new data. Strictly cold calling, 40 hours a week. My VA, they're actually from overseas. Had them trained up. It's funny, I found them through, shout out my man Steve in your group. He's in Tampa right now, killing it. And he had made a post about his VAs. This is kind of sidetracking and I'll kind of go back, but he had made a post about his VAs like probably 3 or 4 months ago. And I just hit him up randomly, and he saw that I was from like Springfield, Virginia. Like in my bio, it said Springfield, Virginia. And he was like, no way. Like I grew up there, blah, blah, blah. And we just kind of hit it off, and he put me onto these VAs and stuff. And when I went to Tampa, I went to his office and stuff. It was cool. Like that's my guy right now, but he kind of put me onto these VAs. If you know, if you don't have that connection, you could always just go on these Facebook groups and really vet people. Even before I went with them, you know, I interviewed like 3 or 4 different VAs and VA companies, and like, you know, did the pros and cons. Kind of the same thing I did with the SMS people that I was using. So it's the same model. Hired them. So boom, I pull the data every month, skip trace it, have my filters on it, whatever. Either it be prop stream or batch leads, whichever one I'm using at the time. And then I'll even try to get like government lists, like you talk about. You know, I'll go to different counties, try to get those. I'll probably have those like in a separate bucket, and you know, call them like once a week, twice a week, whatever. So boom, give them the data. VAs call them. They start calling in the morning,
So
like
how are
in
they
the,
calling? Are they using a dialer, hand
yeah, they're
dialer?
using call tools.
Okay, call tools.
Yeah, call tools. Yep. So you use
3
call tools.
lines. How many lines?
3 line dollar.
I know it sounds redundant for you, but like it's
No,
some
no,
people need
three.
to know exactly.
No,
So
three
3
line
line.
dollar, 3 line dollar, one VA cold calling.
Nice.
They're working about 40 hours a week.
Okay.
And then from there, I kind of made like this criteria of like, okay, like obviously the 4 pillars, you know what I'm saying, motivation, condition, all of that stuff. The 4 pillars are amazing. So when they call them, they're like, hey, are you such and such? Do you own such and such? Yeah. Okay. Have you ever thought about possibly selling your property? And then from there they kind of just delve into, what the condition is, what the motivation, the timeline, stuff like that is. And then from there, if it meets those criterias that I kind of told them, they'll go ahead, put the call recording in my Podio and everything when they submit it. I created like a forum that I shared with them on Podio. You could, you're familiar, but for the viewers, when you create your Podio, you could create like an inbound forum
It's
where
in
it has like,
freehosting.com for everyone.
yeah, exactly. That's kind of where I got that from too. I wasn't aware on how to do that. So, you can literally follow the video step by step, and then whatever VAs you use, you send them that, so they don't even have to get access to your Podio. Because when you start adding people, you have to start paying more money into your Podio. So that's like kind of a way you could work around that. So you don't have to add more people. You can kind of use the free one as long as you can do that. So they'll go ahead, upload all the information, address, bedrooms, condition, and then in the little memo tab, I'll have them break down like, everything from like motivation, how the call was, what the attitude of the person was. And then from there, they'll go ahead and send it to me. Typically what my day looks like is I wake up, check my marketing and stuff every day. Kind of got this whole schedule from your pops. So check my marketing. I personally, I know you're not really supposed to dial until like in the afternoon, like late afternoon, early evening. What I do is I'll have my tasks that I assign to myself for those days. So I have like an internal follow-up process where it's like a hot lead gets hit every day, a warm lead get hits every other day. And then I have like a system where like I hit this person 5 times, 6 times, and then I move it to the next bucket. So I do a lot of those like internal follow-ups that I'm in charge of around like lunchtime. And then any new leads that get pushed in the day, I'll try to hit them that evening. If not, I'll take the ones from yesterday's and hit them in the evening. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to talk to those people like right off the bat, and I know they'll probably be more receptive to picking up in the evening versus like in the morning time. And then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I have a meeting with my VA guys. 30-minute call, just see how everything's going. I'm in a WhatsApp group with them as well, so I'm always talking to them throughout the day. And then from there, boom, VA calls if they get a hot lead, ready to go. It's crazy too, because almost all my deals, bro, like maybe out of all of them, 1 or 2, I'm lying, 2 to 3, I had to consistently follow up with, and those were like a pain in the ass. But you'd be surprised how many leads, like you'd be surprised how many of these I'm closing within the first conversation. And I'm assigning them within like an hour, 2 hours. And then I'm like, this is crazy. Like more people need to learn how to do this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's funny too, because a lot of the ones that you have to consistently follow up with, those usually tend to be the biggest margins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they've probably been around the ringer with different investors or wholesalers. And like you said, I saw a video that you posted. You were like, you got to be right with your numbers and be strong. Like you can't really try to make a deal out of something that's not a deal.
Especially in this market, right?
Yeah, especially in this market, right? So like let's say I know my numbers are at 130, like I'm not gonna go past 130 because it's just what it makes sense. You got to just trust yourself that like that's what your buyers need you to get it at. And like down the line, you never know, if you follow up with that person consistently, they might have had like 2 or 3 transactions fall through, and you could go ahead and pick up and close that. So yeah, mornings, marketing time, review all my KPIs. I made like this KPI tracker that I did in like Excel. It took me like 2 hours to make. Probably could have used Chat GPT to like help me out with it, but pretty much what it is every day I go and upload the KPIs that my guys send me. So like how many people they called, how many calls were connected, how many got pushed to my Podio, and it kind of breaks down and has like a global conversion rate. And how many, like it breaks it down to like the umpteenth degree, to where it's like you got to talk to these many people for me to get this amount of deals, and like I have enough data to kind of back that. So now I'm like, okay, I'm in a place where I'm like, okay, if I double that, I feel comfortable knowing that investment will not be going to waste, just because I've had enough back data to kind of prove that. So yeah, man, that's pretty much my daily schedule. I kind of like to work Monday through Saturday. Sunday I take off. Saturdays, I'm dialing or following up with people from like 11 to 4. Um, but yeah, man, I'm always on my phone, and a lot of times these buyers too. Like once you build a rapport with them, I don't even call them a lot. Like in my follow up, sometimes
Yeah.
I'll just shoot them a text, because they already know my number, they're familiar with me. So that kind of saves my time too. So I'd probably say every day in the actual business, I'm probably doing like 2 hours in the morning, 2 to 3 in the night. So like maybe 5 to 6 total hours a day. And the rest of the time, man, is just to myself, trying to learn, build the business. And kind of keep it pushing. So now I'm kind of like, all right, I have all this time. Let me kind of see, if I could help other people or like do more JV deals with other people and stuff like that. So
It's beautiful, man. You're running a
yeah.
great business here. How are you training these VAs specifically?
So what I'm doing is these particular guys, bro, like I haven't changed them, right? So before I
Mm,
hired them, um, they kind of came vetted already. They were familiar with, wholesaling. They knew the whole process. So I kind of asked them like to talk me through what their internal process looked like. And then from there, I kind of tweaked it to like, okay, this is your script, but I want you to add this, or I
mm,
want you to trim this down. I don't want you to act like a salesperson on the phone. I want you to be more so like somebody that's genuinely asking like, hey, I'm interested in buying your house. Are you looking to sell it? You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I particularly trained. I know the SMS people, when I trained those, that was a little bit more intensive process. So that was like 2-3 sessions a week, kind of like going through how to like respond to these people, like when I want you to stop responding, like, and push it to me type of
mm.
thing. So the best way, I think, the ongoing training is like we do kind of like role plays sometimes. So let's say if I get a call and I didn't really like how it went, or they could have tweaked like something in this one, I'll go ahead and mark that. And then next time I meet with, whoever the cold caller was or whatever, I'll just be like, hey, like, let's just go through this call real quick. You kind of said this, in this situation, you kind of could have taken this route, and you would have been able to divert because a lot of these buyers or sellers sometimes, I'm sorry, they're like super aggressive on the phone. You know what I mean? So it's kind of
Yeah.
like how can you shift that paradigm to kind of bring those walls down? So we do like a lot of role playing stuff. But yeah, mostly just role playing and kind of going back and actually like looking over these calls. You know what I mean? Is the best way that I could train people like continuously.
Awesome. And what country are they from?
They're from Egypt.
Oh wow, Egyptian
Yeah,
cold callers are
bro,
they're
they're
pretty
they're they're
good.
ridiculous, bro, and like it's a very developed like country, like they have a lot
Massive.
of, yeah.
Egypt's
So
huge.
like, bro, like it's crazy. Like I'm on, like we FaceTime each other now. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's just like they're like one of my friends, so I really want to like go
Yeah.
out there soon. But yeah, I got them. Shout out Steve, man, Steve.
Yeah.
Thank
I
him for
mean, if
putting me on to them. But
anybody's
he was
watching this,
posting,
yeah.
yeah, he was posting about him too. So that's kind of how I got into him. You guys got to definitely be on that on the group, man. Sometimes I just scroll and just see what people are talking about on there, and it's a lot of good content, good connections on there for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, if anyone's watching this, you're looking to scale and you speak Arabic, I'd just only
Oh
do
yeah,
Egypt, honestly, at this
yeah,
point.
bro. And no,
Like,
all these people, bro, that I'm working with, they speak great English too. Like,
yeah.
yeah, and it's, I mean, if anybody wants to like see the get with those cold callers, hit me up on IG or Facebook, and I'll go ahead and connect you up with them.
Yeah.
They're super. I can stand by them, and I've dealt
Yeah.
with multiple cold callers. I've dealt with people from the Philippines. Like, it's just way more like organized. A lot of the Egyptian people that I've dealt with, in terms of cold calling and like data mining and stuff like that, they're like super like very organized about
Oh
everything.
yeah.
So
And the accents sound different, like an Arabic accent.
yeah,
Just I don't know how to say no, one accent doesn't sound better or worse, but I found Arabic accents and Spanish accents just to do better cold calling
yeah,
than
they do. Because I feel like a
basically.
lot of people for years were just using Filipino
Yeah.
cold callers. So I think if you're on a list that's like a high equity, you've been hearing that same type of accent in person for years. So like when you get that call, you're like, oh my God, it's another like cold call. But if it's somebody that's like a completely different accent and uses a different script, you're like, okay, this guy's probably serious. He's not gonna waste my
Yeah.
time. So
So it's just different, like no one really
yeah,
cares about an accent, it just sounds different. But
right.
just I found Egyptian cold callers are definitely new
Yeah,
and they're upright.
yeah,
People in Spanish countries are it's amazing too.
Yeah, I know. I heard a lot of people are using Spanish cold callers too, and they're finding a lot of success with that as well.
But
So
communication's key, right? And so if
yeah,
you're a Hispanic person right now and you speak Spanish to people
right,
from Latin America, you can communicate with them so well. And
right.
outside of that, I mean, Egypt, that's a huge gold nugget right there. That's an amazing one. And
And
so,
like to anybody too, like if you do your research, like if you go into a market and it's predominantly a lot of Hispanic people there, it might be beneficial for
oh
you to
yeah,
get somebody on the phone that speaks Spanish, because that could set you apart from everybody else. There's been times where I've dealt with like Hispanic Spanish speaking homeowners, and I've had to like get my boy on the phone,
yeah,
and kind of
me
help me
too.
out with it. So it's like if I knew how to speak Spanish, I would have probably had that deal locked up a minute ago. But it's
Yeah,
like you want to talk to people that know what you're saying, you know what I mean? And having
exactly.
somebody or having that knowledge is always key. So I would definitely look at the demographic that you're targeting as well.
Exactly. And so
Yeah.
you're doing the process here. You're getting an acquisitions person in. Let's kind of talk about your cash buyer side here. So you have
Okay.
a pretty good buyers list, right?
Right.
Obviously, you don't send them bad deals, and you're sending them good deals. And I think that's
Right.
one very important thing we should talk about first. Like, do you send bad deals to your good buyers? Like, how do you deal with your buyer situation?
So, bro, honestly, I'm big on like networking, dude. So, like,
Yeah.
one, I've never seen any of these houses that I've done, even though I'm in the DMV. Like, I've done all of that virtually. I've never seen any of my buyers in person, but I just always communicate with them. Um, so I've kind of built up enough, I guess, credibility and rapport and like friendship side of things to where sometimes, bro, like I'm working on getting a deal locked up, and I'll hit up one of my buyers and be like, "Hey, like, I have this deal. I'm working on it. I know like you're not gonna like go behind my back and backdoor me on this deal just because you don't want to burn that bridge.
Yeah.
What would you need to get this deal out for you to work? So I had this deal in Richmond. It was a new construction that I was talking to earlier to you about before we hopped on here. The guy had a stop order on it and everything, so the framing side of things is pretty much done. I've never really dealt with a new construction house and wholesale deal or anything, so I didn't know really what I was even looking at. So I called one of my buyers up and I was like, "Hey, like I know you have a team, like you build a lot of houses, like can you help me look through this deal? Like, what do you think you would need to get it at for you to make sense?" So she was able to like give me all the permits, like was able to call the inspector and see what was actually going on. So I had the whole spiel that everything that the buyer or the seller wasn't trying to tell me, you know what I'm saying? So
Mm.
I kind of had all that knowledge to go back and get it locked up at a number where she was like, I would want to get it to you get it from you at this number. I don't care how much your fee is. So I was able to negotiate that, and I sent it out to her and a couple other people, and people started biting on it crazy.
Mm.
So it's just like building that, I guess, rapport up. But before I had that rapport, I definitely did. I wouldn't send a deal out to anybody that I wouldn't feel comfortable doing
Yeah.
myself. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of like if you had, I kind of do it to where I put myself in the mindset because I flipped a couple of houses myself, like 3 or 4. So I kind of know what type of numbers and what could go wrong. You know what I mean? I've done like a full gut job before, and I've done minor fixes before. So I kind of put myself in the mindset to where a lot of my buyers are doing big volume monthly in flips. So they have where it might cost me 100,000 to do a flip, they'll probably be able to do that in half of that,
Mm.
So I kind of take that into account in my numbers as well, and try to find a happy median. So I think right now most of the markets, I'm using like the 70 to 75% rule, but then I kind of tweak that a little bit too. Like I know in Nova it's like 85, 86 sometimes can make a deal work up here.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just, bro, buyers, like if you give them a good deal, you close a couple of deals with people. If you just reach out to them and have good conversations with them, like just catch up from time to time and just ask them like, hey, like, what do you want to buy? You know what I mean? They like that too. Like if I send somebody a deal that I'm working on, I'm like, hey, I'm working on getting this locked up. I really like you. We have a good relationship. If we wanted to do a deal where I don't have to like worry about dispoing it, I know if I get it at this price, you're gonna buy it. That saves me so much time, bro. I'm not greedy. I don't mind leaving a couple grand on the table to get something done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think the best thing for me is like I kind of try to put myself in that mindset of what would make a good deal. If I personally wouldn't feel comfortable putting my money into it, I won't even send it to somebody. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And if it's really tight, that's where I would probably get it locked up, and I'll hit up some of the buyers that I do a lot of volume with, and I'll be like, hey, I have this locked up at this number. I think this is a good deal. Like, you can still make some money here. Like, let me know what you think. And then from there, you know, if they're like, yeah, it doesn't work for me, I might shoot it out to a couple more people. And then from there, I'll go back and renegotiate, you know what I mean? Because I'll have kind of some feedback on what people are at. So if you send out a deal, bro, like you said, if you don't get a deal sold within like 3 days, chances are it's too high. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what I found too. So it's literally just trial and error with the dispo side. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still trying to like get the dispo side to where like it's just way more massive. You know what I mean? So like the fact that y'all have this crazy JV network is amazing. Because a lot of people focus on the acquisitions, but don't really focus on building those dispo relationships. You know what I mean? So I think having the same type of focus on the dispo side as you do in the acquisitions, more so in terms of building relationship and rapport with people, versus like not and just putting it out on Facebook would definitely help a lot of people out for sure.
Exactly. So
yeah,
you're doing well. You know, 3 to 5 deals every single month. Obviously, you're going to push it even more. You're going everything virtually. I think very inspiring. I think anyone doing virtual wholesaling should definitely look at what you're doing and try to get into it. And I think you gave a lot of great stuff out. So this was an amazing podcast, Rav. I am proud of you. I'm excited to see where you go in the future. And obviously, unfortunately, SumUpPaper.com does not do Northern Virginia. So if
I saw that. You know what's crazy too is I had the deal and I was like, damn, let me see if I could JV this with Zach or his pops. And then I saw that you guys weren't up there, so I was like, all right, well, let me just post it on my Facebook, or my Instagram rather. And you know, my Instagram's right here. I don't really talk or like. I kind of try to keep my business really low key, but you know, I felt like I wanted to kind of share my story because I know you guys have helped me a lot. And a lot of guests that you guys had on here have kind of motivated me to keep going. I think it's good. This is possible, people in America, TV land. Wholesaling is a real thing. If you put your mind to it, you're consistent, you can find a lot of success in this business, and it can open a lot of doors for you. The biggest thing I would give to people is don't try to compare yourself. You know, nobody's an overnight success, and taking information in, but the biggest thing also is acting on that information and kind of learning and rolling with the punches. You know, action is the biggest key for any success. So anybody that's struggling or even anybody that's killing it, just keep going. It only gets better and greater later. So I wish everybody, you know, success and more deals.
Exactly. So if you got a deal, you want to send it to Rav, Suave Rav right there on Instagram. And check him out. Your name's also on Facebook, and send some deals over to him, right?
Yeah, hit me up, guys. I'm in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. I have a strong network of buyers in that whole area. If you guys have a deal, you need to move it. I'm 75 to 90% sure that I could get it done within 2 to 3 days. If it's a deal, of course. But if other than that, too, if anybody's in the area, virtual people, like if you're trying to get deals done there too, hit me up. I have boots on the ground. We can always, you know, work some things out and kind of see how we could collaborate. Always open to helping the next person out. So definitely hit me up, guys.
Awesome. So I appreciate, guys. Hit him up on Instagram.
Yes, sir.
Rob, thank you so much for hopping on. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you next year on the Bags Riches podcast.
Yes, sir.